Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. I'm John Sheet, here to bring you all the action for tonight's special exhibition race at Daytona. The April Fool's Shootout. Presented by Sunoco. With me, surprisingly, is NSDCA driver Logan Cloud. Logan, how are you feeling tonight? I'm feeling pretty good, John. Thanks for having me. Now, all these drivers, only one of which has even participated in an NSDCA event, but somehow they all have one thing in common. Can you tell me what that is? Yeah, they're all drivers that I actually used to race against before joining the NSDCA. So these are the guys that I cut my teeth racing against. Anyway, we gotta get to the starting lineup. It's a full 42 car grid. Originally supposed to be 43. One car, a second we will get to later, that did not end up making a lap. But anyway, it will be Sadler Jones on pole for tonight's race. Sadler Jones, the only driver with any NSDCA experience in the field, driving. He'll start alongside Michael West in the number 97. There's Spencer Fillmore. He's pretty good at pretty much every track. He'll be starting next to Dan Archer. Jeremy Mayfield, believe it or not, he will be in this row. He's in the 19. And starting alongside of him will be Malcolm Andretti. Then there's Brandon Ward lining up next to Jeffrey Clark. Then Callum McCracken will line up next to Rick Blaney. Francis Brown, he's always a threat at these super speedways. You gotta watch out for him. He's gonna start next to Ward Gordon, who's obviously a threat anywhere that these guys had ever gone. There's his brother Brian Gordon. He'll line up next to John Platt. A good run for that underfunded number 90 team. That's the Rockford Motorsports, their technical second car. There's, finishing off the Harrisburg trio right here, Skip Smith. Sebastian Smith, but Skip's his nickname. He'll line up next to Robbie Burton. Then Jeremy Palin, he's over from England. Once again, he'll line up next to Eric Starks. And rounding out the top 20 will be Greg Davidson and Raymond Ellis. Kerry Washington will line up in the 22nd spot. He'll start next to Dan Ross. Then Sean Cooper and Steve Parker, the two teammates, will start in the 12th row. Peyton Wheeler in the number 6. He'll line up next to Vance McDonald. Then Barry Booth and Mark Gurney will line up in this row. And then Stan Regazzoni driving the Columbus Autosport 36. They're actually one of the very few NSDCA teams who did not participate in strike. He'll start next to Jason Brown. Now, very interesting as we get back here. Here's Richard Franks. He'll start next to George Eastman. Then Edward Reagan in his RotoZip car will start next to David Little. Adam McGee will line up next to Tyler Thornton. And then Aaron Pulaski will line up next to Gary Smith. Michael Clarkson is back here along with Ryan Foy, who had a surprisingly bad lap in qualifying. Rounding out the field will be Ronald Barstow and Ron Elko. Now, as we mentioned earlier, one driver car team combination did not make the trip down and make a lap around. That was the second Columbus Autosport car, the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac, to be driven by road ringer Neil Allen. However, that team had issues with their engine and could not get it fired in time for qualifying. So only 42 cars will take the grid. Now we go trackside for the most famous words in all of motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Engines are fired, or are firing. 42 cars. They will roar to life. Okay, maybe not 42. We're having a problem somewhere. because we hear a coolant leak. However, it does not seem to be affecting Steve Parker at the moment. Now, these are some of the best drivers in the nation. These teams are not that silly. There is the Hendrick team. The Hendrick team. Hanratty. Notable team. Yeah. Jeffrey Clark, surprisingly up here. Rick Blaney's another one you need to look out for. He's like usually really the only competitive Pontiac, but Michael West is having a fantastic weekend, surprisingly. He's driven as both Ford as part of the Roush team. But he's also driving for Michael West Enterprises. Now, Brandon Ward here driving for Panther Racing. He's teammates along with the 25 of Mark Gurney. Car is rounding the third and fourth turns here at Daytona. I would just like to point out aerial coverage today is presented by Robesto's, the Best in Brakes. And yeah, there's the pace car pulling off. Down pit road goes pace car driver Lance Cloud. Green flag is out. Sadler Jones leads them down for an incredible amount of laps. 24 laps here in the April Fool's Shootout. Now we're going to see anybody going to be a fool on the hill. Speaking of the hill, several drivers are going to be pushed up the hill 3 wide. Now down the hill, here at the back, a good move by Sean Cooper. Sadler Jones, a more unconventional track for him to be running up front. A driver with experience in the Dean's IndyCar Series. A big star in that series, so he's not used to these plate races. But indeed, he will be the driver leading the first lap here at the Daytona International Speedway. Several cars already 3 wide. Down the hill at the back of the pack goes Michael Clarkson. Looks like they might have missed the setup a little bit on, or at least the initial gearing on that 94. So that just might not be a good car on restarts and stuff. If this race ends up turning into a crash fest, he's not going to be a competitor to win, potentially. At the front of the pack now, it is Brandon Ward being pushed by Ward Gordon. And there we go. It is true, we have a coolant leak on the 45 machine. Steve Parker was trying to keep it out there for as long as possible, but he's going to lose the draft here as he pulls in the pit road to get repairs done. Ward Gordon now clear to the race lead. Well, maybe not quite clear, but the sediment remains. Now, Dan Ross going to the inside. See Ross and Sean Cooper there. Trying to get some dodges going on the bottom lane there. But as you can see, there's a lot of different manufacturers preventing that from happening. Brandon Ward staying tough, hanging out on the high side, will lead another lap in the Kleenex number 27 Chevrolet. They are now 2 wide for much of the latter half of the pack. There is Steve Parker. Who's actually not a long... He's not a long way away from the pack, but... He still has a few seconds on them at the line, so if there's a wreck here in the next few laps, he'll be... And oh, people in the wall. Look, few drivers scraped it outside wall. Nothing too serious, as Dan Ross is now credited with leading, as we have 20 laps to go already in today's event. Ross, Cooper, 1-2 almost on the bottom. But Mark Gurney, could he be throwing it 4 wide? Oh, we got another car slightly lagging off the back of the pack, and it is Ron Elko. I wonder if he got in the wall. I just wonder. What do you think's up? I don't know. They might have missed the setup completely. That team's not exactly the most competitive teams. They're a 2-car operation. Their other car is the often unsponsored number 90 of John Platt. That team struggles to pick up sponsorship, or at least did when I was racing. Anyway, Dan Ross leading. We're thinking that if these replacement races continue, we could see Ross teaming up with Rick Blaney. Now, whether or not they would be running both Chevys or both Pontiacs or both Dodges remain to be seen. Now they're 4 wide towards the back. Contact made. It looked like David Little and Tyler Thornton just got squeezed a little bit. Luckily, they squeezed down where there was a little bit of room, because usually what happens at these super speedway races is these drivers squeeze up, and that ends up causing what we like to call the big one here. Now a big move by Skip Smith, going all the way down the hill. Top to bottom, north to south, whatever you like to call it. Sometimes I refer to it as jumping down the elevator shaft for some reason. Skip Smith, one of the 3 of the DEI cars in here. The die cars, I guess. However, none of them are really quite towards the front. There's Eric Starks, though. They're closing in. A few more laps and they will catch Steve Parker. John Platt actually poked his nose out at the front of the pack. A welcome surprise as you hear the cheers. One of the fan favorites for his abilities to never give up. Car in the wall. The 22 of Dan Ross. Now they're almost 4 wide at the front of the pack as Rick Blaney has got some separation. We're a third of the way through this race. They're catching Steve Parker. And it could cause a big chain reaction. They're 4 wide as we go here. 4 wide's never a good thing because Eric Starks, he's going to force it down unless George Eastman decides to try and hug that bottom line. He does. And we remain clear of any calamity for another set of corners at least. Now Robbie Burton in his self-owned 17 car. The Parts America Chevrolet Monte Carlo to the race lead with a push from Stan Regazzoni, the Brooklyn, New York native. Speaking in that heavy Italian-American accent that is familiar to anybody in the 5 boroughs. As they close in on the 45 of Steve Parker. You almost hope one of these guys towards the back just does a lazy spin or whatever to bring out the caution. Just so we don't have a big wreck. Steve Parker still on the lead lap, but just barely. Here comes the pack to swallow him up. He's in the middle. It's Stan Regazzoni. No, he goes high. Holding up 1, possibly 2 lanes of traffic. And look at that inside line. Scream by. Eric Starks now the position. You can see everybody scrambling at the back. Tyler Thornton is up here. Michael Clarkson, another road ringer. Aaron Pulaski in the Scooby-Doo car. Just point out Greg Davidson. He's won. He says this is the weakest type of track he's ever been at. He's not good at these restrictor plate type races. Now, there was the old Jackson Super Speedway that we used to race at. That he struggled with. Maybe he's got, after a little bit more experience, he's figured out a little bit how to get around Daytona. Pulaski is definitely, his speed is equalized. He definitely, not Pulaski, it was Sean Cooper. No, Steve Parker, that's right. But he is trapped a lap off the pace at the moment. And is providing an interesting wrinkle. Yeah, oh, I think we almost had some contact there. Now they're 4 wide again. This is not where you want to be, especially near the front of the pack. Like Skip Smith, Greg Davidson hardly giving each other any room. Oh, nearly touched. Yeah, I believe one of the other older commentators I know used to refer to this sort of thing as like argy-bargy. Luckily, Davidson has found a hole. We are halfway through today's event. Kerry Washington is currently leading, but at the line, at the halfway mark, it was Michael Clarkson. You can see, aside from the 45, which obviously had the pit, nobody has lost the draft, so we remain with one single pack of all 42 cars. Now, where do you want to be? That's a really good question. We're coming up on 10 laps to go. And I don't know. I think you want to kind of be towards the back, maybe on the bottom. I would say maybe Sadler Jones, depending on how this shuffle times out, is in a great spot. If not, ooh, of course, if there's a wreck, anything could happen. Greg Davidson trying to take the lead as they come to 10 laps to go. You got to run up the middle this time. Here comes the other Kellogg's Corn Flakes car. That is Vance McDonald in the 44. McDonald with a push from Dan Archer. 10 laps to go. Greg Davidson leads. Now, as you can see, McDonald, I really never got a beat at much on him because he was never doing really well anywhere. He was just really struggling in sort of the hand-me-down equipment. I think he was in the R&D car. But it's nice to see what he can do. Obviously, he's got the pace now to lead the race. 3 wide for the lead. Dan Archer getting pushed out in front with help from Jason Brown. Jason Brown, of course, he's one of the oldest drivers in this field. I think maybe the only driver that is older is Jeremy Mayfield. Speaking of Mayfield, he's working his way up through the pack as well. Mayfield, gonna be now 3rd in line on the inside line. He sucks up to the rear bumper of Peyton Wheeler. Brown to the lead in the number 18 Interstate Battery Chevrolet. Trading spots going out at the back of the pack. Callum McCracken drive. I never really got to drive against him because he ended up replacing me in the 9 car when I signed on to drive the 04 for Anj Auto. In this little minor racing confederation. Is that the right word? I have no clue. Jeremy Mayfield, vindication. He's back at Daytona and he's back in the lead once again. He nearly won the Daytona 500 in 1998, just coming up a few spots shy. But now, so you can see, almost 3 wide going. Now I mean 4 wide. Now they are 4 wide. There's teammates flanking the 40 car. And contact made. Into the wall goes Jason Brown. The big one happening at the front of the pack. Several drivers involved. Oh, Callum McCracken's in it. Greg Davidson. Rick Blaney. The caution flag is out. Jeremy Mayfield is leading with 7 laps to go. Michael West, oh, he's smoking. They're still wrecking. Greg Davidson around once again. Oh, look at John Platt. He's destroyed. Skip Smith, he's missing a fender. And he's probably missing a whole valve or something. Oh, that's a disappointing result for that team. So now, what happened to trigger this? Well, I think it was pretty obvious what did happen to trigger this. There was a crash. So here we go. This is what happened. Brown got squeezed there, and you can see there's just nowhere for anybody to go. You can see Michael West, Dan Archer, Dan Ross, Robbie Burton, Ryan Foyt. We never talked about him all day. Oh, Jeffrey Clark just plows in at the end there. Oh, man. Where did Skip Smith get his damage? Oh, Michael West got knocked into his path. No wonder why. Whoa, George Eastman with a save. Something and oh, Ron Elko nearly flipped towards the back here. He got kind of turned there by Skip Smith. Oh, into the wall, and that nearly was enough force to weight shift him over. See, Raymond Ellis receiving some damage there on the tail end. There was... So we go back towards the front of the pack. Let's see exactly what happened. There's the wrack. Oh, look at Sean Cooper. Just drifting through the grass. He actually did a good job avoiding more damage. Another view of the accident. Can see. We'll go on board now with Jason Brown. Or actually, Greg Davidson. On the roof, you can see he's got nowhere to go, and he's just around, and he's just getting ping-ponged around here. He feels like he's trapped inside of a pinball machine. You can see all the smoke and all the carnage. And oh Lord. He takes more damage. Sean Cooper stopped. Man, oh man, what an accident. So now the majority of pretty much the incident-stricken cars are the ones who ended up pitting. We get back to the front of the pack and we assess the casualty list, and we see Jason Brown is out. So is Ron Elko. Michael West, Eric Starks, and that is is Peyton Wheeler. Those 6 cars, or those 5 cars, I should say, all out of the running. Steve Parker, though, he's gonna end up getting promoted to 37th when this is all said and done. So we'll take you through the running lineup. It looks like we'll get a restart with maybe 3 laps left in this event. Well, what's going on with Aaron Pulaski is what we want to know. Oh, he's dropping to the apron for some reason. Find out, oh, we're hearing a report he's got an issue with his tire. This actually caused a lot of suspension damage. He ran over some debris from that accident. They're trying to clean that all up as best as we can so we can go back racing. But here's your top 10 at the moment is Jeremy Mayfield, Brandon Ward, Brian Gordon, Spencer Fillmore, Jeremy Palin, Sadler Jones, Ronald Barstow, Gary Smith, Vance McDonald, and Kerry Washington. Pretty interesting. Like the top 5 of 6 is pretty much guys you'd almost expect to be up front. You got guys like Barstow, Gary Smith, Vance McDonald, Kerry Washington, Adam. You got a lot of people you wouldn't expect. And then you get back to more of towards the people you see towards the front here. When you get to like Ward Gordon, Dan Archer, Eric Starks, Mark Gurney, Ryan Foyt, and just all his damaged cars, as you can see. John Platt and Callum McCracken, they have both come back on the tracks without anything. They have taken the hood completely off. And are now just trying to pace around and finish the event. Aaron Pulaski will fade to 36 as the moment. He had the pit for damage. We will have a 3-lap shootout. Now, where do you want to be for this? Oh, John, I'm not too sure where the best spot to be. It could really be anywhere. Well, I mean, you want to be definitely at least in the top 10. I would say in the top 5 is probably where you're going to see the winner for. But do you want to be leading? Do you want to be in 2nd, 3rd, 4th? So once this starts going, there's another crash, though, that could end the race prematurely. I'd almost say Jeremy Mayfield is in the catbird seat. I'd say if anybody you want to watch out for, I'd say watch the 20 car Spencer Fillmore. He might be able to be a magician and pull out a lucky rabbit. Green flag back in the air. There is just a little over 7 miles left to go. We're getting back to full speed, and it looks like Brandon Ward is going to take Jeremy Mayfield easily going in the 1 and 2. And just like it said, here comes Spencer Fillmore to the inside. See a lot of the slow cars. You can see it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. If it was a longer race, definitely. Going into turn 3, Brandon Ward leading. About 6 miles away from a victory here in the April Fool's Exhibition Shootout. Two laps to go. That is 5 miles around the venerable Daytona International Speedway. And there you go. You see, no, and there's Sadler Jones now going to the inside of Spencer Fillmore. That could really hurt him. Fillmore, he's going to go high. He's searching for grip up high, and I don't think he's going to find it. Here comes Sadler Jones trying to get to the lead with 2 to go. Look at this. Look at, I would say really anybody on this bottom. Tyler Thornton could be in position to do something crazy here. Off of turn 4, Sadler Jones is leading. Will Kerry Washington do anything? He might. He sweeps down low. They're side by side at the white flag. Coming out of the tri-oval. Looks like Kerry Washington will have the advantage. Will Tyler Thornton do anything? Gary Smith trying to get to the inside. Enter Stan Regazzoni. It looks like we could have an underdog going to victory lane. Looks like all the underdogs are in position right now. As you see Tyler Thornton making that big move, it's going to come down to if Kerry Washington makes a big block going into 3. Washington does not make enough of the block. The 24 to the inside. Now, can anything happen? George Eastman and Stan Regazzoni, they're going to go together. Nobody's going to go. Checkered flag is out. Tyler Thornton wins. And there's a wreck at the checkered flag. Several cars involved, and a second pack is racing towards them. Oh, a terrible crash. Barry Booth heavily in another car. Ryan Foyt up and over. What a terrible crash at the end of this race. Several more cars destroyed. And we are going to have to take another look back at this finish. But Tyler Thornton, he has done it. The upset that nobody expected. So as you see, heading to the tri-oval, Smith's trying to get some run, seeing if he can get 5th. And he's going to run, it looks like the 40, Jeremy Palin, up the track a little bit. He's going to hook him right into the 5 of Sadler Jones. They'll knock him into the wall. As you can see, this is where the carnage starts. You can hardly see who's all in it, but there's Mayfield. Oh, Malcolm Andretti got hooked from behind here. Edward Reagan was just chilling here. And as you see, oh, and this is what I'm really fearing here is the second pack is Brian Gordon. Oh, a terrible impact. There's not even any safer barriers. And he is just going to hit that in the driver's door. And you can see, we're going to have to take to the helicopter cam here just to try and see through all this smoke. Everybody just realizing at the last second there's an accident. They're trying to get through. And Barry Booth heavily in the Brandon Ward there. Oh! Mayfield gets rear-ended. Gary Smith gets a big bite. Ryan Foyt just pile drives Jeremy Palin, and that's going to send him skidding. Oh, man. Imagine if this was a 30-lapper. There'd be like a one-lap shootout. Foyt. Oh, yeah, there you go. He gets a solid lick from Mark Gurney there. And oh my goodness. What a terrible impact for Ryan Foyt. Just gets absolutely massacred by Sean Cooper. And they're not even done wrecking yet. Oh, and there's a teammate wreck right here. David Little gets hit from behind by Adam McGee. And Steve Parker, with a head of steam, ends up into the wall. And how on earth did Robbie Burton not get more damage from that? There's Callum McCracken. John Platt. There's Greg Davidson. Not Greg Davidson. No, that is Greg Davidson. Brian Gordon is destroyed. His automobile. Ryan Foyt. Unbelievable. Right at the end of the race. And of all people, it's Tyler Thornton who will come away with the victory. Kerry Washington second, Stan Regazzoni third, George Eastman fourth. A basically no-name top five. Sadler Jones really the only notable driver. There is the top 25 or so cars. Several cars destroyed right here at the end of this race, but they will all get credited with finishing, other than, of course, the 5 that didn't. So you can see Callum McCracken, you're hoping for a better day for him. Ward Gordon managed to grab a 12th when all was said and done. Edward Reagan, he held on to the pack, so that was a big win for that organization. Not that it matters. This is probably the silliest April Fool's joke yet today, as you can see. Thornton winning, West having a terrible day. A crash fest towards the end here at Daytona. For everybody here, all the teams, and for co-commentator Logan Cloud, I'm John Sheet, signing off for today's broadcast.